Cribs Wind Spirit Edition. Right now, you are about to check out the yellow bus where I'm staying. Check out, this is my porch, a few steps. Welcome in to my humble abode. This is my living room right here. It's a nice little steering wheel. This is my counter space right here. My lamp and my bed. I don't even need to get in the sheets because I got this super awesome new sleeping bag. Pack. Got a heater if I so choose to be unsustainable, and I got other stuff everywhere. And of course, a broom. That completes it. Oh, almost forgot. A fan! Woo-wee! I do appreciate me some fans in the hot weather. Well, I hope you enjoyed this Cribs edition, Wind Spirit edition. Stay tuned. Wind Spirits will serve as my home for the next month. I will immerse myself in many of the projects taking place here, while thoroughly enjoying all the life around me, because it's a gift that keeps on giving. I see you, you beautiful, beautiful being, you. Oh, orange tree. Do you have a present for me? Oh, well, look at that. My goodness. I'm about to enjoy myself. A mighty fine gift that's being grown on this land. Now that's what I call value. It felt so good to be here. It felt right. It was really cool to help everyone out with all of their projects, but I felt the call to contribute with a project of my own that I can run point on. Then just like that, I stumbled upon an unfinished project that was to be a Cobb Oven. It was the perfect scenario given my previous Cobb experience. Making the oven floor in this sandbox that we have created. Got to level it out, make sure it's the right dimensions. Kiss the brick. Because the pre-existing base was made of concrete and stone, I had to improvise and make a concrete box that would hold the 4 inches of sand that the oven floor would go on. Besides one faulty brick that we would replace later, I was quite pleased with my work. Now the next step was to source our materials from Mother Gaia. Here it is, the initial phases of the Cobb Oven. We're going to extract the clay from the natural soils around. Pickaxe, gotta include the pickaxe, multiple shovels, buckets, and a truck. Here we go. Clay extraction. Thus began the lengthy process of sifting the extracted clay through a 1/2-inch screen. It's in moments like this where I enter what I call the flow state. Once I choose to adopt the ideal perspective, it can be quite the meditation. The next phase of the process would be to build a dome sandcastle to serve as the interior of the oven. The height of the dome needed to be 75% as the width. Next, we put damp newspaper over the sand dome to indicate when the sand ended and the clay oven began. After doing the soil test on the extracted clay, it was time for the fun part, making the cob. The first layer of the oven would be a 4-inch thermal mass layer, which would only consist of clay and sand, with about 20 to 25% clay content and the rest sand. We would start with a dry mix first, and then little by little adding water and stomping the heck out of it until we get a cream cheese consistency for our application. As you can see, we can bring the whole community in and have tons of cob stomping fun. After having a blast stomping and mixing the cob by rolling it over in the tarp, we have ourselves the final product, the thermal mass layer. Our next task was to apply the 4 inches of thermal mass. Starting from the bottom up, we create little cob balls and put them on the base of the sand dome. We then simultaneously put pressure downward and from the side so that we can evenly build up the cob thermal mass. Then, just like a blooming flower reaching for the sunlight, the cob thermal mass climbs for the heavens. Before we knew it, we had ourselves 4 inches of thermal mass. We scratched the surface and wetted it down to let it sit overnight. The next day we created the insulation layer, which consisted of 50% sand and 50% clay, mixed into a milkshake consistency, and then tons of straw was added into the mix. The clay sand mixture was to act as a hairspray for the straw. We then would apply the insulation layer 6 inches thick. In this phase, we would sculpt out the door, and since this was a cob oven without a chimney, the door needed to be 2/3 as high as the interior of the oven, and of course as wide as the pizza platter you would be putting in it. We then cut into the thermal mass layer and pulled out 1/3 of the sand to help with the 7-day drying process. Don, the head honcho of Wind Spirit, informed me that he would be traveling to Tucson, Arizona in the coming weekend. He invited me to tag along with him so that I could check out all the sustainable development within the metropolis. I was super thrilled at the invitation and more than willing to travel with him, which was perfect while waiting for the oven to dry before putting on the final layer. Tucson, Arizona, here I come.